We are live in my best Bruce Buffer voice. I can't go that deep, but this is Knockouts and Three Counts, and we are live with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mega Ran. How you doing, brother man?
Yo, I am great. Y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, brother man. You're not freezing your balls off like we are here in Detroit.
Oh, not at all. Nah, man. It's 70 and sunny out here.
Can't wait for those days again.
Yeah, man. Chilling in Arizona. It is we had a little bit of a cold scare, but it was like 50 degrees, which isn't what y'all deal with at all.
This cold scare.
Before we go any further in the episode, though, I gotta shout you out for those cotton candy Astros on your head, man. Those are pretty sick.
Yo, shout out to Astro. They show a lot of love. We're partnered with them for my stream. So Astro, they let me do a like a custom pair. So I was like, all right, what do I like? And I started going through all the colors and just made it all crazy. But yeah, shout out to Astro, man. They looked out.
Yeah, they came out perfect, man. I like how it's almost got like the sheen or the shine effect on the ear plates, man. It looks nice.
Yeah, it almost like, I don't know. It looks like kind of when I'm in the middle of like a green screen, it makes it look like the green screen is like making it shimmer or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
Well, yeah. We're shouting out Astro and all that stuff. Let everybody know where they can find you on all your social medias. It's pretty self-explanatory, but for those of our listeners that are all centered in MMA or maybe all centered in just straight wrestling and don't know you, let them know.
Oh man, well, I am Mega Ran, and you can find me pretty much anywhere at Mega Ran, megaran.com, Mega Ran on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, all those places, Facebook or whatever. It looks like Meg Ryan when you're looking at it real closely and you're not paying attention, but it's not Meg Ryan, it's Mega Ran. And yeah, so Mega Ran music for music, Mega Ran merch for merch, and just megaran.com for everything else.
So, all right, for starters, man, we ought to take it back a little bit. First of all, thank you for inviting me on this weekend's adventures. Number one. We had our first go around down there in LA, man, and I had a damn good time getting away from this freezing weather and opening it up in that Mustang after you guys got out of here. So I'm just saying, I got no problem doing it for round two. And this time we're headed down to Jacksonville, Florida for AEW Revolution. But the pot just got a little bit sweeter for you last night on AEW Dynamite. Do you want to care to elaborate, sir?
Yeah. They did a special 3-hour Dynamite last night, and then the third hour was a Revolution preview. And they opened the show with my jam, which was pretty cool. I made a song called Revolution, features my man Rated R. And I love the track. Honestly, I already knew I was heading out to Dynamite before I wrote it. I mean, to Revolution. But like, I know some folks out there, and not to, name drop or sound all extra cool, but like, my thing is, I never like to ask anybody for something for nothing. You know what I mean? So when I asked them like for some comps, and they were nice enough to do it, I was like, you know what? I think it would be cool for me to do something in return. And so I just wrote the song. I didn't necessarily know where it was going to go or what it was going to do, but I write 2 songs a month for Patreon anyway. So I was like, I love wrestling. Why not? Let's just make a song about just the general concept of a revolution, like seeing something change. And so I wrote a track. I thought the track was dope. I sent it to Kenny Omea, and he was like, yo, I love it. So why don't we use this? And I was like, what? For real? And he's like, yeah, man, like, I love it. Let's see what we can do. I'm gonna get it on over to TK. And I knew who TK was, and I was like, oh, okay. Cool. Well, let's see what happens. And fast forward, they were like, we think we're going to use it. We're not sure. We're going to try our best to get it going, but we'll see what happens. And I was like, I know how it is in wrestling. I don't ever put full faith in something happening for sure until it happens. So that's why I didn't announce anything. I didn't say anything. And then last night, right before the show went live, I got the word that it was a go, like it was a part of the video package. And And there it was. And I was like, let's go then. Like that to me made the trip even more worth it, made the weekend's excitement even more, even more crazy. Like just being a part of it is always an honor. This is my third song that has been placed with AEW. Fighters was the first, and then All Out with G1, and then this one for Revolution. So I'm very, very proud to be such a dope part of this really cool pay-per-view coming up.
Well, so, you kind of jumped to one of the questions I almost had as to whether, because the song itself was so fitting for not only the piece that they had put together. That's kind of one thing I had wondered on a production side, is if they had the video piece put together before the song had matched to it, or if the song was something that they generaled it around, because they fit so perfectly together. They really honestly did.
It did. I really don't know. I mean, I gave it to them probably 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, but that was the early version of the song before I had finished it. And at that time, I think they were ready to use it. So I think they maybe started putting some highlights to it and seeing how it looked and sounded together, and then decided probably last minute, because in wrestling, a lot of stuff is totally last minute. Like when you're working with live TV, so many things can change. So I feel like it didn't come together probably until the last week or so.
Well, and you kind of alluded to the fact that not necessarily that it was written to get it used on AEW, but with hopes that it may, I guess you could say. And what was kind of the meaning behind that? I mean, you kind of started to allude, to it, but you kind of swayed on to other points.
Well, I never like to write songs that are specifically on the nose when somebody's like, oh, it needs to be about wrestling. I'm not going to be like headlocks and suplexes and, I wanted it to the general concept of revolution was what I went with. And revolution has a couple of different meanings. It means revolving, things that go around, but also it means taking over and just changing things over to a new system, but by force, you know what I mean? Which is, I think, what a lot of AEW is doing. It's just changing the way we look at things. So that's really what it was about. It's about being a hard worker, but also understanding that all things can change. And, especially in wrestling, we've known it to be one way for a long time. It's been one leader, but yet these guys are knocking on the door, for a revolution. And that's really what the song was trying to push forth, for sure.
Well, I mean, you talk about revolution and you talk about a big year, man. I mean, you're doing this over here with AEW, but I mean, that's just the first of many things that you got done, even in a year like a pandemic like that. Your New Day podcast that you were on ended up going out on the network. You're doing this now with AEW. I mean, you've gotten to do, this isn't the first big thing that you've gotten to do. So it's cool to see you come around to it. But what's cool for me is you had sent this to me a few days ago, and we're like, hey, what do you think about this? And I thought right off the rip, dude, this is dope. And then and we had already talked about it, because like you said, you were like, yo, I got to get rid of some of these flights, because my tour got canceled. Let's go to an AEW pay-per-view. So we were already planning on trying to make the trip down to Jacksonville. And then when you send this to me, I'm like, oh shit, this could have got real interesting. And the crazy part is, I'm happy just as a friend, first and foremost, that you're getting your shine like you should. But secondly, I mean, just getting to go do that. I mean, it's going to be an insane trip in the fact that I'm going to be getting tattooed down there by another past guest of our show, Miss Lindsay Snow. I mean, things are going to get a little gnarly down there in Jacksonville, dude. So my question for you is, as we headed into Revolution, what was your immediate thought when you saw that package play when the countdown started? Because I know from talking to you off air and all that, how you've been a lifelong fan and all that stuff. So what was the immediate thought when you heard that drop, when you finally heard it hit? Because I saw your tweet when we retweeted it out last night.
Oh man, that was a real dope moment. But again, like I said, I'm pretty good at keeping my emotions in check, because I've been told everything. I've heard every promise. I've heard, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, from different companies and different things. So I never count the chicken until it's hatched. I never count the money till it's in my account, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I didn't necessarily think it was going to happen. So when it did, I was like, oh, cool. But at the same time, it's kind of bittersweet because it's like, man, I wish that this was a moment where like there'll be full crowds and full people that could hear it and, all the other things. So I was just really excited. This is hard work coming back to pay dividends, so that's really what it was for me. It's like I work really hard a lot, on my music, on my art, on my time, my craft. I give it all a big effort, but at the same time, I don't I don't always expect to get something back from it. You know what I'm saying? Like I do it because I love doing it, not because I'm waiting for the return or the, the thing. So, but yeah, it was a great feeling, man. It was really dope. I was like, oh, I'm a part of this. Like this is going to be a pretty historic pay-per-view overall. So it's just awesome to be a part of it.
Well, you can honestly see the emotion kind of just in your smile when you're talking about it, to be honest with you. I mean, you could tell that it means a lot to you. And that it's interesting to me that it still means this much to you, not necessarily still, but that this is you said third time around at this
point
where your music's gotten used through them. And the fact that it still means that much and that you're getting used at in like main package points, like the selling point for the pay-per-view and stuff. That's an awesome spot to get in, man. That really is.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Well, without any further ado, we told everybody we were going to play the song, man. Why don't we let anybody who didn't know what was up with the track on the countdown, let them know what's up with it, man.
Oh, word. Okay. Well, shoot, I get to play it. So this is like a world premiere, yo.
World star.
Yeah, world premiere. It's going to be on streaming services, hopefully by the end of the weekend. But yeah, like, things come through so last minute. I wanted to get a very like final mix on it. Shout out to my man Felix, who really killed it on the mix. Shout out to Rated R, who killed it on the verse. We wanted to get in our rock rap bag. I knew it was something that wrestling, they really enjoy, the rap rock, combination. So some heavy guitars and some emotions and some singing, so yeah, this joint is going to be, I think it's going to, be something that a lot of people like, but it's also a very different vibe from me. All right. Okay.
Excuse me, ladies and gents. It's just a little technical difficulties. Don't mind me.
So good. Okay. So, all right. I think, let me see if it just works if I do sound, and maybe we don't have to do visual. All right. Let me know if you hear anything.
Yep.
You hear it?
Yeah. Hey. Be careful what you ask for. Just could get it. Have you ever wanted something more than life itself? Sitting in the dark by yourself, no one asking if you like some help. Swimming in emotion like you Michael Phelps, waiting for a sign to finally apply yourself and make the necessary adjustment from secondary. The judgment is temporary, to come up as legendary. And they couldn't diminish the way we altered the business. They called us awful ambitious, and now they all get the witness. You were the revolution. I'm sick of the way that it used to be. Now it comes down to you and me. You were the revolution. I tried to tell you, you wouldn't see. Now you question what you believe. You are the revolution. No more of the old ways. This ain't the old days. We ain't got the old ways. You are the revolution. We on a crash course and now we are at war. You got what you asked for. This is a revolution. I've been on my last like 5 years, beat down, cried tears. Truthfully, it's a miracle anyone survives here. Sat in the rain, just praying that the sky's clear. Ain't no country for a pioneer, but you're the second to do it gets the respect of the movement. While the rest of the proving just get rejected and booted. Man, I lost count of these scars. Seems hard, but in the presence of the moon, nobody can see stars. You asked for a change and you got it. No weak links in the chain, every man is solid. Knowledge is power, but character's respect. If you think it's on now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Revolutionary minds don't rely on the telling lies. Bet you we the guys in the rise being televised, compelling without the cat. Got the game on me rap, flowing off the page. Now it's time to make the money match. Anytime I get a shot, I'm a landmine. Trying to cross the line, I explode like a landmine. Made my way across the earth to be the best. Now it's time to work circles around the rest.
You are the revolution. I'm sick of the way that it used to be. down to you and me. You are the revolution. I tried to tell you, you wouldn't see. Now you question what you believe. You are the revolution. No more of the old ways. This ain't the old days. We ain't got the old ways. You are the revolution. We on a crash course and now we are at war. You got what you asked for. This is a revolution.
Yeah, that's it. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Hey. So yo, that's Revolution, the world premiere. Exclusive. Yeah, man, that's the track. Shout out to Rated R. Shout out to Felix for helping out with that. It was an honor and a pleasure, man. And shout out to AEW for playing it. So if you haven't seen it or you DVR'd it, go back, check it out. You'll enjoy it, and be on the lookout because it will be on all your streaming services. And if you're watching the pay-per-view this weekend, look out for us. We'll be out there masked up, but we'll be out there.
Hey man, I got an even cooler, brand new dope ass mask I'm about to have out there. And this time, like I said, bro,
Nice.
Thanks to the homies at New Eyes Optical, hear you out here. I got
Nice.
my vision won't be all fogged, man. I got like the cure all for the mask, bro. I told you I'm bringing some with me, man.
Nice. Hell yeah, I need that. The what did you say, cat crap or what it was called?
Dude, literally, that's what it's called.
my
I laughed
God.
my ass
Worst
off,
name
man.
ever, but
It's
okay.
the worst name ever. But
All right. Couldn't think of anything
dude,
cooler
it
to
does
come
the
up
trick,
with.
though, dude.
All right, I like it. Yo, so I got to run only because I'm making sure I'm super safe. I'm going to get a rapid COVID test right now just to of course make sure that everybody is on the up and up before we travel. So I'm going to do that. But everybody out there, I just want to say peace and thanks and shout out, of course, to Knockouts and 3 Counts for having me. And
Wait, before you go, don't let them forget, though. This Sunday after the UFC 259, you're also going to be live with us on Knockouts and 3 Counts for our post show for UFC. Remember?
hey, it's going to be a double shot of Mega Ran. That's what's up. So I'll see you on Sunday.
And all the more action. So we appreciate the time, brother man.
Of
And
course.
like you said, make sure you are watching Revolution because you'll see a familiar face, hopefully.
That's what's up. Peace, Corey. Nice to meet you, man.
Nice meeting you as well. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right,
Best
y'all.
of luck on your
Be
trip
good.
to Florida, man.
Much love. Peace.
You as
I'll
well.
see you soon, sir.
All right.
All right, Corey. So what do you think of the new song, bro?
All right. So I'm not gonna just play up to them and make them feel good. That song was pretty damn good, dude. It really, honestly, was really good. I don't just say that because he was a guest of the show or something like that. I actually listened to the verse, to the hook, it was honestly pretty good. I really enjoyed it. That's no bullshit. What's your thoughts?
man? I thought it was fire when I heard it before I knew, before I knew they were using it for AEW Revolution. So,
well, you had showed me the rough clip as well, and listening to his final edit, you could definitely tell a solid difference. He put the finishing touches on it, and quality song. And I definitely see the reason why AEW picked it. It's not only perfectly fitting, like I said, with the piece that they put out video package wise, but the song itself is just also a good song. So what a better way to get some promotion for both of them and to use a quality song on some quality wrestling show that you guys got going on.
hey man, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. AEW Revolution coming up this Sunday in Jacksonville, Florida. Ring the bell, motherfuckers, because
Kyle's
I will
gonna be there.
And that being said, though, it's funny though because all right, so last night on AEW Dynamite, AEW Dynamite Crossroads, we saw the return of another member of the Four Horsemen. The man himself, Tully Blanchard, got back in the ring for the first time in, good God, I forgot how many years they said it had been since Tully's been in the ring. It was him and FTR versus past guests of the show, all three of them. Marco Stunt, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. They locked horns over there at Crossroads. It was cool to see him in there. Sting showed up with Darby Allin. Like I said, man, it's there's a lot to look forward to this weekend 35. Okay, it's been 35 years. Thank you, Smitty. And shout out to Smitty and the homies at Breaking Down the Ring. So the first time in 35 years, dude.
Wow. Talk about some time away from the game, huh?
Yeah, so Tully had a kind of a rough exit to when he had left the first time, man. Like, you know, if you do your research, like I said, he's an original he's one of the members of the Four Horsemen, man, with Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. And I mean, that's, I would say, probably, if not the one of the most iconic factions in all of wrestling, period.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're the ones that kind of, in my eyes, back in those days, they got the attitude flowing. They got the whole era kind of going, I guess you could say, of when people started to kind of pay a little more attention, I feel like, to wrestling. Ric Flair brought in a ton of eyes back in those days.
Yeah, man. Like I said, they did their thing. Like I said, you've got that to look forward to. And I mean, what's more to be said than the fact that we're literally going to see for the first time really in America, much less, not first time in America maybe, but especially the first time on a major scale like this. And again, I don't know if we would have seen this match if it weren't for a pandemic, but we're going to get an exploding barbed wire death match. Okay. I mean, I don't know what this is going to look like. I'm excited to get to Florida. I'm excited to not be freezing my balls off. I'm excited for some new ink. This weekend is going to be quite the ride down to Jacksonville, Florida. Corey, as mentioned, you know, we're going to be talking about UFC 259 as well.
Boy. You ain't even got to go any further. Not to interrupt you, Kyle, but man, I'm ready to erupt. I've been literally frantically checking Twitter all week to make sure that none of these fights have gotten canceled or postponed or somebody test positive or any. I'm knocking on wood right now to make sure it don't happen. Look, making sure, because I have not been so excited for a UFC event in a long time. You talk about stacked from the bottom to the top. I mean, literally, people that are in the early prelims could be like co-main event fights. It's an incredible night. It really is. I mean, you've got like Joseph Benavidez making his return on the prelims after his couple losses that he had in the title fights at 125. You got Cruz making his return at 135. I mean, it's just, there's so many good fights.
If you are following us, which you need to be, at KO3C Pod on Twitter and Instagram, following me at Detroit Knockout, him at Fight Fan from the 313, following us at all these places. And if you haven't done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because like Mega Ran said, like I let you guys know, we're going to be doing our UFC post show after the madness that ensues this Saturday, before we get to even more madness in a fucking exploding barbed wire death match. Like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of it. All right. So since you mentioned those two fights, the Joseph Benavidez return and the Dominic Cruz return, let's talk about those two fights first.
Okay. Absolutely.
Who does Dominic Cruz got in this one, Corey?
Casey Kenny.
Okay, so Casey Kenny's good. But my question on this one is going to be, where is Dominic Cruz going to be at after such a long layoff? But if we're going based upon
he didn't have that long of a layoff because he fought Henry Cejudo just 5 months ago or something. So it's not a lengthy layoff as normal per Cruz.
But he had a long layoff before that, though.
Absolutely.
That's my point, though. So to have that and then not be able to get right back in there after that.
But you're forgetting a very key point here. Dominic Cruz is the king of ring rust doesn't exist. Remember, every single time he gets on the mic, ring rust doesn't exist. It's not a real thing.
Bullshit.
But
bullshit. Tell that to Conor McGregor. Tell that to, man, I don't know. I mean, hey, but if he feels like that, more power to him. But anyway, I mean, he's got a tough fight here against Casey Kenny. But for me, I feel like experience is the key on this one. Dominic Cruz is getting him a dub.
One fight in particular, I kind of agree with you really like, part of me does, and then part of me is like the younger breeds have seen essentially what Cruz has been doing, because it took over a lot of the lower weight classes. The ability to have extremely good footwork and be elusive on your feet really took over a lot of the striking in the lower weight classes. So I feel like he may have been training for people like this, not knowing it was essentially going to lead him to the master of a style like this, if you get my drift.
I get you.
And Casey Kenny is very skilled, but my issue, I guess, with this is the fact that Casey Kenny sometimes gets outstruck and ends up relying on trying to take people down. And Dominic Cruz is super elusive. I mean, I just said he's literally the master of being light on his feet. And I feel like if the striking match becomes even if it becomes even, or if Dominic Cruz leads the dance slightly, I think that's going to very much make this a Dominic Cruz fight, even if it's completely even in the striking, because I think Casey Kenny is going to attempt to take him down. But Dominic's footwork and stuff, in his championship accolades and everything that comes along with that, I don't think he's going to be there to get taken down. So it's going to be a great fight. I really think that, but I do lean towards Cruz myself.
All right. What about Joe Benavidez?
He is taking on the toughest deaf person I've ever heard in my whole life, or seen in my whole life, should I say.
What about Matt Hamill?
Askar Askarov is an absolute monster.
So was Matt Hamill.
I agree, but I put a lot of respect on these newer age fighters, because ever since then,
you don't know Matt Hamill.
No, because no, not at, that has absolutely nothing to do with it, because of the fact that there's such an immense amount of improvement in every gym across the world, year by year by year by year. And the fact that somebody is now able to compete in the UFC, I feel like the people that are even able to compete now, for the most part, and be able to put win streaks together and stuff in the current climate of the UFC, I feel like those guys could almost all of them be champions in the previous era of the UFC.
I mean, I agree, but I mean, like I said, man, Matt Hamill was a G, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
and he's the only one to give John Jones an L.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
I'm just talking.
Yeah,
hey, but, like I said.
All right. So,
what about
what's your thoughts on it though? Because
I tend to lean towards Benavidez, bro.
Yeah, I kind of feel
I tend to lean towards Benavidez.
I feel like they're giving, out of the potential fights, I guess you could say, between the bunch of veterans, they're giving Benavidez the tougher fight, though. I feel like Cruz's fight's a lot more winnable, especially with his style. I feel like this fight's going to be a real test for Benavidez if he's still viable in the 125 division. I honestly feel that way. And I'm a big fan of Joey, and especially back in the day when he was just rolling through people. He had that real like fire in the cage. And I feel like he's kind of lacked that ever since that initial first fight with Davis and Figueiredo, when they got the headbutt and he ended up getting knocked out. I think he's kind of lost a bit of that Joey Benavidez thunder that he came with. But I would love to see him get it. But I feel like Askar Askarov is the upcomer. He's somebody to seriously watch out for at 125. And I feel like his pressure and his ability to suffocate people with his wrestling and his top control, I feel like it's going to win him this fight. I honestly do.
You're going with Askarov. How does he win, though?
Top control, potential submission or ground and pound out, but more than likely decision, in my eyes. I would be absolutely remiss, though. I know we're not trying to touch on every fight, but there's two quick ones I have to touch on these early prelims because they're just absolutely worth it. Sean Brady versus Jake Matthews is the opening fight of the card. For anybody who may not be aware of both of these guys, Jake Matthews didn't come off his most impressive performance in his last one, but I feel like that was kind of a respect thing because he was fighting Thiago Sanchez. But Sean,
except for Thiago Sanchez, Jack in the Box, I still had to make my pick of how I thought he was going to win. Jerk off.
Okay.
No, dude, I think Benavidez has got it, but this is the point that I wanted to make to that. So you think that Askarof's going to win due to this top pressure, which I agree with you. I agree with you that he has the tough top pressure. But again, for me, here's the thing that I think Benavidez can make a difference in. I feel like if Benavidez is able to make it a scrappy fight to where he's up in his face, got his head, even if you don't take him down a bunch or nothing, but keeps his head in his chins, got him up against the cage, just blasting him in the ribs, just constantly on him. Anybody who's ever watched Benavidez fight, he's really good at throwing combinations all the time. He's good at being in your face. That to me is going to be the difference. I'm going to go with Benavidez, but that pressure.
But all right, so to counteract your point, the one thing that he's also always struggled with, and you can see it in his past title fights and stuff, is once he gets taken down, he really struggles to get up from off his back. And that's one thing, like I said, especially with somebody with really heavy top pressure, that worries me. Because I would like to see both of them come out with a win miraculously, nobody loses, and fucking confetti falls from the sky. But I feel like Askarof's going to be able to control him and kind of dominate throughout the fight, to be honest.
I feel
that Sean Brady Jake Matthews fight, though, in all honesty, I know most people kind of don't turn on the fights for the most part until they're halfway through the prelims or something like that, or maybe even the start of the main card type stuff,
or they're trying to find a bar in our case this weekend. But hey,
well, turn this fight on your phone, watch it on your tablets, watch it on a laptop, watch it wherever you can, because this one's going to be an absolutely amazing fight to open the card. And then the final fight of the early prelims, Jordan Espinoza taking on Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott's never
a dogfight. I'm a big fan of Tim Elliott, dude.
Yeah, and Jordan Espinoza brings the fight. He does every time. He might not be the most successful in the UFC up to this point, but he absolutely brings the fight every single time. So that's one to absolutely keep an eye out for. One more, I also feel like we absolutely need to touch on the prelims. Song Yadong making his semi-long-awaited return against Kyler Phillips. For those of you who aren't aware of fellow long-hairian Kyler Phillips, he's been putting in some serious work since he's made his way into the UFC. He's somebody really, really to keep an eye out in my eyes. I honestly, it's a really good test, though. Song Yadong's somebody who's been in there with a lot of good guys and even gotten wins over quite a few of those good guys. Which way do you lean in this fight, Kyle?
I don't know, man. I mean, Kyler Phillips looked good to me. I'm really kind of up in the air on this one, dude.
Yeah.
To be honest.
See, this one,
I'm not really leaning one way or the other on this one, dude.
See, my worry is I think that Kyler Phillips is the slightly better fighter, but Song Yadong has this incredible way to go in there and just do enough to win the fight on a couple of the judges' scorecards, so he ends up squeaking by with a split decision. He's done that in a lot of his fights, not taking anything away from him because he's looked impressive. He's doing this over quality guys, but a lot of his wins are split decisions. And I worry for Kyler Phillips that this might end up being the same route, to be honest with you.
Only time will tell, man. But let's get to the main attraction here. Before we get out of here, the three main reasons people are going to be tuning into UFC 259 are because Dana White said, I'm going to just pack y'all with this damn main event. So you got let's start from probably where they're going to start at the bottom end of these title fights and work our way to the top. The first one I would imagine we're going to see on this card is going to be Aljamain Sterling going for that 135 strap against Petr Yan. What are your thoughts on this fight, Corey? How do you think this is going? For anybody that's jumping in the stream, Mega Ran had to go get COVID tested before we head down to Jacksonville this weekend because his song is going to be being played when we're there live at AEW Revolution. So make sure you check it out. Like I said, we debuted the song here for all of you guys that were here. Thank you for checking it out.
Yep. And if you weren't able to be here at the time of it planned, just go check out the replay. We did have him on for roughly about the first half hour of the show. So, but that who's been paying attention, I was mentioning it in our short breakdown that we did on the Tuesday show. This is actually the title fight that excites me the most out of all the three. I've been anticipating this for a long time. Been a big fan of Aljamain Sterling for a long time. Feel like he's deserved this position. Honestly, my real thoughts was that Corey Sandhagen, Aljamain Sterling fight should have been for the belt, not
I agree.
Not Petr Yan versus Aldo, who had lost his debut at 135. But
so
I'm
do
gonna
you here's the thing though. Do you honestly think that the reason why they did that is because sometimes I wonder when they when it's something like that where it ends up being like an interim title thing, I just wonder, do they pick? I feel like sometimes they pick more of who they want versus who, like.
So what
don't
they
get me
did
wrong. I'm not saying Aldo's not. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Aldo fan. I'm not trying to disrespect the legend. I'm just saying sometimes when we get to these interim matchups.
Well, that wasn't an interim. That was a vacant belt. But I
well,
get what
either
you're
way,
saying.
I mean,
I get
a
what you're
vacant
saying.
belt. When I'm saying when you any time where they got to insert somebody in, right?
Yeah.
Where they're picking you two are going to be the ones who fight for it.
In my eyes, what they did, and their UFC is smart for this, and that's why they're as popular as they are, is they cover so many markets and they have such a good way of not necessarily propelling people to the title, but pushing a lot of their foreign stars into potential title holding positions. I mean, you've seen it with Khabib. Granted, Khabib's is probably the most earned and deserved out of everybody right now. But if you go through the whole lineup of belt holders in the UFC right now, there's not many Americans outside of Stipe.
You're correct.
So the UFC has a great way of pushing these foreign stars into these belt winning roles. And that's what they do when these vacant titles and stuff come up, is they put up two foreign stars or somebody who is or was a star against somebody who they want to be a star. And I feel like that's what they did with the Petr Yan thing. They were working on building that market up in Russia. Khabib was a gigantic step into.
I mean, and that's not to say he's not a deserving champion. Like I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm just saying sometimes when they do these fights, it doesn't always seem like it's, I don't know,
the most logical guy in the position. I absolutely agree with you, and that's why I continue to harp on the fact that fight should have been for the belt to begin with. Both of those guys have looked amazing. Corey Sandhagen and Aljamain Sterling up to that point. Corey Sandhagen, of course, suffering the first round choke out from Aljamain Sterling. But either way, we're talking about the fight we got this Saturday, and this one's going to be a banger, man. It absolutely is. And I almost wonder, is Aljamain trying to play mind games, or what's going on? Or is he honestly going in there to do nothing but try to wrestle Petr Yan? Because how he's making it sound is he better essentially bring his wrestling shoes, because it's going to be 25 minutes of trying to take him down and submit him. And
I mean, if you watch,
I feel like it's a little bit of
fights, even against past guests of the show, Cody Stamen. I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I mean, that doesn't sound like it's necessarily a bad strategy either.
No, I don't think it's a bad strategy. I just don't think that's necessarily going to be all of the game that he implements. I think it's a little bit of gamemanship. I honestly do. I think he's going to attempt a lot of takedowns and land quite a few, maybe not as many as he attempts, but I think he's going to be doing a lot of setting up those takedowns throughout too, because he knows that even though both of these guys are 135ers, Petr Yan does carry some serious power in his hands. And Aljamain does have to watch out for that, especially if he's going to try to just wrestle him. He's got to watch out for taking something clean on the chin while he's shooting in. But I personally lean towards the person that I feel like should have been champion to begin with. I feel like Aljamain Sterling should be able to pull this off. I feel like he has the much more well-rounded game. I feel like Petr Yan is. I do. I honestly do. I feel like even if it's in the later rounds, but I feel like it's going to be semi-early. I'm thinking a second round submission.
Second round.
That's my honest thoughts, and I've been dwelling on this one ever since it was originally announced, before it got delayed, and here we are now. So I'm
with you on that one. It's an interesting fight because, again, as I said, I'm not trying to say that Petr Yan is not. I'm not trying to say that he's not a deserving champ. It just, like I said, it's weird when you're talking about a division where you had so many killers, and then, like I say, these vacant titles are the interim titles, man. Even if you look at like 155, when they were having to do that with Tony Ferguson, I feel like Tony Ferguson never really got like the full respect as champ either when he was there. Or, Poirier had an interim title. So,
well, see, that's interim and vacant are a significant difference.
Well, I agree with that, but I'm just saying, like, anytime somebody steps into a fight like that, I feel like there's a little bit of thing. It's like the old saying, even if you win the title straight up, you're not really the champion until you defend the title. So
and not only that, in his case, he is even more interesting circumstances, I guess you could say, because he hadn't fought anyone in the top 5 to get to that position. He had beat quite a few legends and beat some very good, prominent contenders, but none of which were in the top 5 at the time that he fought them. So I feel like it really leans towards, like you were saying, Kyle, they were almost doing a little bit of favoritism, where they felt like this guy is very skilled. He very well could be champion further down the line, but why not just give him the belt, or at least a chance to get it right now, because it'll really help our market.
I mean, he still at the end of the day had to go in there and win the fight. Mm-hmm. Look, if we're talking about this fight right here, I think it's going to be Aljamain Sterling. I think he definitely is going to win this fight. I think we're going to see a new champion. And like you said, I think it's very possible that we could see it by submission. Corey, I definitely am going to let you get to those 2 fights before we get out of here. I'm going to give you your 2 top picks on other fights Corey is recommending for this card. But the next one that we've got to talk about, and one that's got interesting circumstances to it, to me, is the Amanda Nunez fight, because this is her first fight back after becoming a mother. But let's not forget, this is still the Amanda Nunez who is the undisputed women's kingpin. So, and she's taking on Megan Anderson. Now, I think Megan Anderson is going to present a great challenge for her, because I think that the size, to actually have someone that has size, is going to present a good challenge. I think that Megan Anderson is usually good at being able to use her distance. Now, that being said, I think Amanda Nunez is keeping that strap.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I'm not saying that as any kind of slap, but I think Amanda Nunez wins. I don't know that she finishes her, but I think I'm going to pick Amanda Nunez to win by decision.
I would really love to know what the number of people that are picking Megan Anderson without favoritism, or without something like that being some type of bias behind it. I would really like to know the amount of people that think that she's the one that's going to win. I think she has a shot. I'm not saying that it's a foregone conclusion that Amanda Nunez is going to walk out of there still the 2 division champ come Saturday night. Megan Anderson has shown incredible improvements in her last couple fights. She came in as the Invicta champ, but I still honestly feel, I don't know if it was the lights that got to her in her first couple UFC fights, nerves, whatever the case be. if it was just a slight lack of skill before she had made her way into where she is now. But I don't take anything away from where she is now. I do think she's shown incredible improvement. My only thing is she has not fought anybody of the caliber of Amanda Nunez. Not even close.
To be fair, is there anybody really outside of a cyborg left who is really
that's what I was just about to say is like a cyborg, but you could compare her fight even to Felicia Spencer and you can say that she got dominated on the ground and controlled by her. But that was roughly 2 years ago plus at this point. So we could very well see
Nunez just takes her down and kind of wrestles her out.
I imagine that's how this fight goes. Like if I play it out in my head, I could see it probably going that way 85 times out of 100, if not even higher. But Amanda Nunez does have this. She calls herself the Lioness for a reason. She has this thing where she starts to smell blood and she pushes it on people. When that time comes, she very well could go for a finish striking as well. I think Megan Anderson is a little more of a live dog than people are giving her credit for, but I see the odds and I kind of slightly agree with them. But I do think Amanda Nunez does pull it out. Like I said, roughly like 95 to 85 times out of 100, but there is those times where I think Megan Anderson could pull something off, especially with her size difference, man. She can throw up those big old baseball bat legs she has in seconds. She throws very good, strong, high kicks. If she can go in there and be committed to her striking and be committed to her game and also defensive against the takedown, she could stand a very good shot in there, but it's a tough one.
I'm with you. So how do you think she wins the fight then? Obviously you're going with Nunez. How does she win?
Honestly, I kind of feel like either she gets the submission because Megan Anderson isn't able to defend the positions properly off the ground, or it goes to decision. If I was to put some type of money on it, it was more even odds, not like some, plus 1,300 or something insane like this, like.
Speaking of that, we may be talking some UFC odds tonight with our homies over at Ramblings of a Grappleman. Just saying.
Well,
stay tuned.
But yeah, that's how I picture it going. Honestly, if it ends up in a finish, more often than not, it's going to be a submission. If not, Megan Anderson does have the heart, I think, to stay in there if it's just strikes. But I don't know. That's why they fight, right?
All right. So it looks like we're on the same accord to that. Well, we're getting to the main event of the evening, the one that's got everybody talking. You got Israel Adesanya stepping up to face Jan Blachowicz. I don't know, man. They've got Izzy as the heavy favorite in this one. How do you see this fight?
So a couple days ago, I had this surge of I feel like Jan is highly underrated and stands a for real shot. And then I seen him do face-offs today, and I realized Izzy is like 4 inches taller than him or 3 inches taller than him and did not look much smaller than him, even though he's not, a traditional 205 size. That kind of really changed my thoughts on the way the fight could go. It really honestly did. When I seen him facing off in today's press conference, it really kind of, I know a face-off's just a face-off, and size is just size, and that can be very well changed, especially with Polish power behind, the other side. But yeah, I realized that I feel like Izzy's size is more of a talking point than it really is a detriment, I guess you could say. And that being said, Izzy's already kind of fought guys significantly bigger than him in Costa, and you've seen how that performance went. Jan's an incredible fighter, but I just don't, the more and more I think about it, unless he's able to land some of these really hard leg kicks to his ribs and able to damage his ribs and damage him and touch him to the body, Jan's punching style a lot of the times is blitzing with his hands slightly down to his waist and not protecting his face and just throwing.
So you think the technique of Izzy is going to make the difference?
I think his infamous, I think he might hit the same type of knockout punch that he hit to both Robert Whitaker and Costa, where he not
hit him with a wine bottle.
He doesn't back out. He just leans back slightly enough to be out of range and hits him with like this corkscrew hook from like the shortest, like it's probably it's probably 3 or 4 inches away from his chest though. It's like he doesn't throw it with any range whatsoever, but it just snaps to the target. And I mean, it's lethal.
You hit them with when they're coming in, bro.
Yeah, it's absolutely lethal. Well, he does it a lot better than most though. He has this ability. I don't know if it's his long frame or if he just has some ability to be able to lean back and control his movement slightly better than others. But his is very devastating. It really is. And his ability to just touch people in either on the chin or in just like behind the ear and stuff with these one quick slick punch, man. Izzy's going to more than likely end up being a double champ on Saturday. I think he's going to join the ranks of double champ come Saturday.
Okay, so that's the pick. Okay, so you're picking him by knockout. What round?
That's a very good question because it depends on what Jan. Honestly, it depends on what Blachowicz does when he's in there. That's going to really drastically change the way the fight goes. I don't think it's going to drastically change the ending outcome, but I think if he starts blitzing early and tries to take control early, I think the fight very well might end early. I think if he kind of does like a feel him out round and throws a couple punches, throws a couple kicks, but doesn't necessarily put him in too much risk, then we might see something around the 2nd to 4th round area. But it honestly depends on which version of Jan we see out there.
All right. Well, something in me really wants to pick the upset on this one and pick Jan Blachowicz, but this fight's an interesting one, man, because the more I sit and mull it over, that technique of Izzy is different.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. And then like you said with the size, man, I think that can be a thing. I'm gonna damn it. This one
that's what makes the UFC so interesting week in and week out. Granted, this is absolutely a bigger matchup than most. There's a reason.
This isn't like week in, week out.
Yeah.
This is one where I'm genuinely like,
but
okay,
you could genuinely do this with just about every matchup not every matchup that they headline cards with, but you could do this with the Derek Lewis fight that we just had a couple weeks back. You could do this across the board.
What? But fuck it. Even though something in my gut tells me this could bite me in the ass just for shits and giggles, since you're over here saying it's going to be, since you're the one over here saying it's going to be the new champion and the double champ, I think Jan Blachowicz is going to maybe catch Izzy slipping in the beginning.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think it could bite me in the ass, but just for argument's sake.
I mean, we did kind of go along party lines for these picks. Other than this last one, we kind of all were across the board. This pretty similar, but I am surprised, and like I said, I had a real surgence of Jan earlier in this week. I was really thinking about how heavy those body kicks and stuff were able to land on Dominic Reyes with just 1 or 2 landed. It didn't take much, and his whole side was purple and brown. It wasn't even like traditional bruising like colors. It was like deep tissue bruising, like instantly. He very well could.
Like I said, for argument's sake, I'm gonna pick Jan, but for argument's sake, I'm gonna pick Jan, but I'm not. That's not to say that I'm counting Izzy out, or not. To be honest with you, I'm not even 100% sure on that pick. To be honest with you, so
you're already second guessing yourself, huh?
You know, I've been saying Jan with it, but at the same time, I'm a huge Izzy fan, dude. And the only reason I said that was because of the size difference. But like you said, it wasn't that big of a.
Were you able to see the press conference today? It wasn't overly like momentous or anything. There wasn't no like, crazy.
I didn't get to see it, but I mean, like I said, the size difference can't be too big when Izzy is that tall. But then you got to remember again, Jan's cutting to make 205.
Yeah. But the difference is how much we're going to see once these guys actually are in the cage together. And when they go to touch gloves, you're going to see the difference in frame. And that's what's going to be, it's going to be not an indicator necessarily of the fight, but it very well could steer the direction of the fight for sure.
Like I said, man, I'm torn on it, dude. Like,
yeah,
I want to say
for good reason. If any fight to be torn about of these three, this is the one to be the most torn about.
I'm torn on it. Like I said, for argument's sake, I'll go with Jan. Well, before we get out of here and before we sign off, throw out those fights in short form and let us know what other fights you're looking forward to.
Making his return, coming off of the very, very, very tightly contested fight with John Jones, getting both of his knees completely surgically repaired, taking over a year to learn how to even be able to walk again. We got Thiago Santos making his return after an unfortunate short notice fight against Glover Teixeira. That was a loss, but I don't think he was fully recovered yet from the injury and I don't think we've seen the full version of him that we had seen prior to that, which granted we may never see again, because that's a double knee replacement is an incredible surgery to even be able to come back from, let alone be your traditional fighting self after that. That's but he's taking on Alexander Rakic, and he is a absolutely surging 205 prospect. And for anybody who may not be familiar with him or anything like that, he had a slightly lackluster performance against Anthony Smith in his last fight, but he was able to dominate and control him and win the fight throughout in a main event spot. This one, I really would love to see Thiago Santos get back to his traditional form. I feel like he could very well still be a contender at 205. I really honestly do. But Rakic is the young up-and-comer who's incredibly skilled. Definitely keep an eye out on this one. It's the opening fight of the pay-per-view. I lean towards Thiago Santos, but it could very well go either way. What's your quick thoughts on this one?
I really don't know much about Santos's opponent. Like I said, hopefully Santos can get himself back on track. Like I said, I'm quite honestly, I'm really looking forward to the three main ones on this one, and both of the ones that we mentioned in the prelims. But that's a good thing about the UFC, man. There's always so many fights that are on the card. What's the other fight you're talking about?
Well, the other one that they moved into the pay-per-view slot, the guy that they are touting, and even Khabib himself is touting as the replacement to Khabib, Islam Makhachev, making his way up to the pay-per-view slot. The UFC's given this guy a huge push, but I think
they want their next Khabib, bro.
Yep, I think a lot of people are sleeping on the fact that Drew Dober's no slouch, though.
Drew Dober's a savage, bro.
There's a reason why he's on a very, very impressive win streak against some real good guys in the 155-pound division. That being said, though, he has had times where he struggled with some wrestlers. That was a couple of years ago at this point. Yet again, kind of like we were alluding to with the Megan Anderson fight, he very well could have improved on those skills tremendously from this point, or, from that point. Islam Makhachev, though, is absolutely somebody to keep an eye out for. He only has one loss, I believe, in the UFC. And that was kind of just because he got a little careless and caught hand. He's somebody to absolutely watch out for, though. Khabib wouldn't be touting him as highly as it does. Everybody who trains at AKA really is giving this guy the push. He's somebody to watch out for. But Drew Dober, I'm a huge fan. I would really like to see him pull off the upset, but I feel like Islam Makhachev is kind of somebody to watch out for in the future. What's your thoughts?
I mean, Makhachev's been doing his thing, but I mean, Dober.
He's been doing it so slowly, though. That's the issue.
My thing is, I think this is definitely a winnable fight for Dober. But I think, again, like I said, I think part of this is I think UFC is looking for their next Khabib. But I think it's definitely a winnable fight for Dober, but he's got to be on top of his game. I mean, anyway it goes, man, we're in for an action-packed weekend in wrestling and MMA. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we've got a bunch of great content that's going to be coming to you. There will be a vlog of our whole trip and different little things that we get into. If you stay tuned to our social medias, I'm sure there'll be clips from when we go down to AEW Revolution. And like we just got through telling you, UFC 259 is stacked. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting out and getting in some warmer weather. I'm looking forward to seeing the American Kaiju, Miss Lindsay Snow. This weekend is going to be a good time. Corey, another episode of Podcast Gold.
In the books. Can't wait till we get to you next week. Actually, we're going to, like you said earlier in the show, for anybody who had missed it, we're going to actually be doing a wrap-up of the pay-per-views over the weekend on Sunday. So definitely make sure you check us out.
Time and all that stuff, because there's no, we still kind of got to get that all together. But like I said, stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, follow button, and you won't miss any of it. And until next time and in the in-between time, thank you to all you guys who were watching in the comments. Smitty, I appreciate you. Everybody that was in there, even Jeremy was in there for a second. Like I said, make sure you, make sure you stay tuned and peace.